various trades so that members of the public can feel the convenience brought by AI in their work and lives. We want to improve people's quality of life in this regard. In the meantime, we will continue to strengthen education as well as medical services and elderly care services. We will support SMEs in a targeted manner. Taking into consideration the fiscal position of the government, we will, at an appropriate scale, increase relief measures. For example, there will be rates concession. We will, to eligible persons, disperse subsidies and allowances. We will also increase the basic allowance as well as the allowance for married persons. We will also invest in infrastructure development. The key is to increase the expenditure for public works projects. Therefore, we will increase bond issuance, especially long-term bonds, to support long-term infrastructure projects. In the medium-range forecast, the debt to GDP ratio will be capped at below 20%, and this is better than other advanced economies. As usual, the proceeds from bond issuance will be used for infrastructure projects, not for funding expenditure. The investment income for the foreign exchange exceeded $330 billion, exceeding $4.1 trillion for the total asset. We will, under the premise of ensuring robust financial system, transfer the exchange fund to the capital reserve fund. We will transfer $150 billion. Last year, the SAR government set targets for 2026, 27, and 2028 and 29. We strive to return a surplus for the operating account as well as the capital account. With the reinforced fiscal consolidation program, we have yielded results. Also, with the boom in the equity market, we saw an increase of stamp duty revenue from the stock market as well as from profits tax. So we are seeing a surplus in the operating account. Same for the consolidated account. So the overall public finances have seen improvement. Over the past year, even with volatility in the external market, the economy in Hong Kong remained resilient. We have already recalibrated our courses. We see a blend of cultural East meets West culture, and we maintain our simple and low-tax regime. We have to grasp the advantages. We have to support the economic development of Hong Kong and our country. We strive to enhance people's quality of life as well. Today, we have prepared a PowerPoint presentation for this meeting, and the PowerPoint presentation has been issued to members. I'm not going to repeat the details in the PowerPoint presentation. We are happy to take members' questions. Thank you. Members who are waiting to speak, there are 62 of them. In order to ensure fairness and that more members could raise questions, I will be stringent with the time. I'll give each member 4 minutes. If you spend 3 minutes on your questions and that the administration has no time to respond, I will still cut you. So please leave enough time for the administration. I'll read out the names of the first 20 members: Mr. Sunny Tan, Reverend Peter Kun, Ms. Christine Fong, Mr. Rock Chan, Ms. Nixie Lam, Mr. Andrew Fan, Mr. Adrian Ho, Dr. Johnny Mr. Robert Lee, Mr. Lam Chun Sing, Mr. Eric Yim, Ms. Kaman Khan, Mr. Bill Tang, Mr. Ronak Chen, Mr. Brave Chen, Mr. Stephen Ho, Ms. Rebecca Chen, Mr. Wong Kam Leung, Mr. Chen Pui Leung, and Professor William Chen. Mr. Sunny Tan. Good morning, FS. I thank the FS for taking on board over 70 of the concrete suggestions made by the BPA. We think that this is a budget that helps inject capital to the business sector. This is a visionary budget that dovetail with the National 15th Five-Year Plan. It seeks to use finance as well as INT as the economic driver. So this deserves our recognition. I see that on tax policies, the government has done a lot of work, and this is crucial to bringing in capital and businesses. This will attract multinational corporations that are interested in coming to Hong Kong. This will also benefit the supply chain and industrial chain. We will benefit SMEs and as well as the catering and associated industries so that members of the public can share the fruit. My question is, what are the details in relation to the tax incentives and relevant policies? Will all sectors benefit from the tax incentives? Also, on the Committee on Tax Policy, I hope members of the business sector will be able to join the committee so that we can reflect the situations we face. FS, I thank Mr. Sunny Tang. For this advisory committee on tax, we mainly focus on how we can make use of our tax policies as a competitive means to attract more businesses and capital. So we welcome members of the business sector to join this advisory committee so that they can provide us with the latest information in relation to the development direction of the market. We hope to get their advice on how we can be more competitive and how we can make breakthroughs in terms of our tax policies. In relation to preferential tax policies, there is mention in the budget that there will be a 5% or half-rate tax concession. The purpose is to speed up the development of the Northern Metropolis and to bring in industry players to the project. We want to attract enterprises, especially those in the tech sector, the advanced manufacturing sector, to join the Northern Metropolis project. We will take into account the investment amount they can bring and how much they can benefit to our economy, as well as how advanced the technologies are when we decide on how much tax concession we will offer to them. There can be an in-depth discussion in this regard. In relation to co-investment as well as financial subsidies, these are all possible options. What matters is that they can make concrete contribution to Hong Kong. Next, Reverend Peter Kun. Thank you, Chairman. I understand how hard it is to be the leaders of Hong Kong. I have said this many years, but still I have to repeat it. The social welfare sector will see a reduction of 2% in terms of government spending. I'm not sure if the government officials in charge of the public coffers understand the difficulties we are facing. Do you find our demand unreasonable? You said you will cut 2% of the spending, and I wonder if this can be made in different phases. I speak on behalf of the beneficiaries of government spending, and I am left in confusion why there is a cut of our resources. I hope the FS can explain further in this regard. Also, you said the government has to make use of its government reserves. And what if the reserve is depleted? My other question has to do with profits tax concession. Again, you adopt a broad brush approach. You will increase the levy by $1,500 for all organizations. If you lift this levy, you'll be able to help a lot more people.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Reverend Peter Cohen. Social welfare workers are very important. As we can see in society, social welfare workers do a lot on caring for members of the public. They provide a lot of assistance to the disadvantaged in Hong Kong. They play important roles. We have taken into account our fiscal position. Therefore, in the recent few years, we need to cut 2% every year. When it comes to social welfare organizations, the same principle applies. At the same time, we have talked to the Labor and Welfare Bureau. Of course, the Hong Kong government and different units will have to use some reserves. This is unavoidable. This is a period of transformation. We need to continue with our efforts. We need to fight for room for improvement. But when it comes to exceptional circumstances, the Labor and Welfare Bureau will take a look at the situation to identify any room for further assistance. They will be responsible for providing targeted support. You are welcome to reach out to the Labor and Welfare Bureau so that we can put our heads together. Regarding profits tax, against the current backdrop, different sectors want to receive assistance as well. We have seen improvement in our fiscal position. That's why we consider it appropriate for different sectors and members of the public to receive assistance from us whenever it is within our capabilities. Thank you, Ms. Christine Fong. Thank you, Chairman. Well, we can see that the FS has made prudent use of the budget. I'm glad to see AI layout and plans. Education is expenditure as well. Much expenditure has been spent on higher education. Many members of the public, especially teenagers, want to see the reinstatement of the the student grant of $2,500, profits tax $3,000, which is on the low side. Society wants this amount to be increased to $5,000, including personal income tax. Regarding carbon reduction, there is the national goal of carbon neutrality in 2060, and Hong Kong needs to contribute to a reduction of 40% of carbon emissions. Regarding the possible impact on the transition to EVs owing to the cancellation of the one-for-one replacement program, what is the potential impact? Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Fong, for her views. Just now we talked about the student grant of $2,500. It was cancelled earlier on because the government wanted the subsidies to be more targeted. And the student grant of $2,500 didn't have any means test. For those with the means test, we continue to provide subsidies because this policy was less targeted. It was cancelled. Last year, we spent about $7.8 billion. And this year, we have made some enhancements to personal tax allowances, and all these will involve $15.6 billion. Regarding personal tax allowances, basic and single parent allowance, child and additional child allowances, all these have seen an increase. And this is expected to total $5 billion of revenue foregone. That is because the structure has been fundamentally changed. And this will involve $20 billion of revenue foregone. We have just seen surplus in our budget. We also need to spend money on infrastructure. This policy allows us to strike a balance. Regarding the one-for-one replacement scheme for EVs, we have been encouraging the change to EVs for a few years. In the past few years, we have been making adjustments. We have taken into account the advanced development of the technologies of EVs. EVs functions have improved. There are a lot more models of EVs. EV comfort has improved a lot. There's been a drop in the price of EVs. Therefore, there is sufficient market competition. That's why it is not appropriate to use policies to support the change to EVs. It's not justified. And we're going to work on providing charging facilities, especially fast chargers and medium chargers. We'll work with the Environment and Ecology Bureau. We aim at improving the charging facilities all over Hong Kong. At present, for new EVs, about 70% of the new vehicles are EVs. Thank you. Next, Mr. Rock Chen. Good morning, FS. Good morning. In paragraph 91 of the budget, it is mentioned the bond issuance of renminbi. And for dim sum bonds, there were faulty contracts, and there were also issues in relation to dim sum bonds regarding some documents. They do not have actual legal binding effect. So I do agree that we need high quality issuers of bond. In the future, when there is IPO, will the Hong Kong X SFC or even the Hong Kong MA be gatekeepers? They need to check the credit ratings on these issuers as well as the repayment capabilities of these issuers. Only then will they be allowed to issue bonds in Hong Kong, thereby strengthening protection for investors. In paragraph 94, BC, it is mentioned uncertificated securities market regime as well as T+1 for the market. I agree with these policies. Are there any concrete policy measures to render assistance? As for category C brokers, will there be any assistance provided in order to help them with the transition? How can you help them address the potential systemic risks? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Rock Chen, for his views. Issuance of bonds or stocks, there are also some requirements. Reputation matters a lot in the financial market. That's why credit ratings, background, financial position, all these are factors that we take into account prior to the issuance of bonds and stocks. The Hong Kong X and the SFC are gatekeepers. In these issuance documents, there needs to be sufficient disclosure. Investors and companies will be in a better position to understand the risks that they will be facing. We attach much importance to this area. We also take it very seriously. We will remind regulators once again to be more mindful of these aspects regarding the settlement cycle of T+1. This is conducive to enhancing the market efficiency of Hong Kong. This also helps us to continue to lead the world. When it comes to competition and improving liquidity, Hong Kong will enjoy more competitiveness. As for small to medium-sized securities brokers, some agents or brokers might be of a smaller scale. When they update their computer systems, they need to have some support. In this regard, we have urged the Hong Kong X to put some resources into this area. Whenever they can do so, they need to provide assistance to these brokers or agents. Thank you. Ms. Nancy Lam, thank you. Good morning, FS. Thank you for responding to the proposals of the DAB. That is the basic single parent allowance as well as the dependent parent grandparent allowances. Regarding the 20,000 newborn baby bonuses, this will come to an end in October this year. What factors will be at play when it comes to whether this policy will continue. Regarding the increase in the quota or places for standalone childcare centers, will there be tax concessions to incentivize private enterprises? There are 3 quite large-scale private enterprises providing childcare services for their own staff members. When we can provide tax concessions for them, this might be able to ease the burden of the government. Is it possible for us to provide tax breaks or tax concessions? Regarding AI for public services, this area has been faring quite well. This is the era of AI. So in terms of public administration, how can we empower ourselves with AI? When it comes to public servants, there will be AI training. I'd like to know how you are going to provide training related to AI. Will you accord priority to improving the situations in which members of the public need to line up for long? Thank you. FS. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Lam. Regarding the newborn baby bonuses, it's been implemented for a year or so. We are going to gauge its effectiveness. In the budget, we have made quite significant enhancements to child and additional child allowances. And these allowances will continue until the child reaches the age of 25. This is quite long-term support. When it comes to private childcare centers, we will study the feasibility of the suggestion floated by Ms. Lam. Within the government, tax concessions are considered to be incentives across different policy portfolios, but at the same time, we need to keep a close watch on our tax revenue. We need to consider the overall fiscal position of the government. When it comes to AI in public services, the Deputy for Chief Secretary for Administration is leading a team that is about enhancing the administration efficiency of the government using AI. That is the AI efficacy team. We want to improve the interface of different apps for members of the public. The Civil Service College has been providing different AI training courses for different levels of civil servants. We want to improve AI literacy for civil servants. Then we will be able to provide better services to the public. Thank you. Mr. Andrew Fan. Thank you. Between paragraph 43 to 46 and 46 of the budget, I support it. The Quality Education Fund has set aside $2 billion for primary and secondary schools to provide AI training. This is very important to students and teachers alike. Our younger generations need to have a good grasp of AI. That is because AI is the main trend. Regarding paragraph 179, $10 billion will be earmarked for providing loans to support campus development in the NM University town. I support it. I also talked about this in the consultation exercise, but apart from loans, has the FS considered other methods to expedite the construction of the NM University town? For instance, is it possible to issue bonds for high-quality educational institutions? This will diversify the bonds market, the securities market, and this will also fast-track the provision of funds. FS, thank you, Mr. Andrew Fan. It is important to provide AI training for all. This is the era of AI. AI plays an important role in every one of our lives. We need to use AI well. We need to embrace AI. Apart from schools, we use different training. We provide different training courses through the Employees Retraining Board. We have been improving AI literacy and will continue to do so. Regarding NM University Town, we have earmarked some resources to this initiative. Universities, especially self-financing educational institutions or higher secondary institutions, when they need to construct a campus in the NM University Town, they can ask the government for funds. They can borrow money from the government. We are more than willing to provide assistance. These universities need to collect funds to construct their campuses, and there's a wide array of methods for them to do so. What Mr. Andrew Fan mentioned was just one of the many options. We want to give universities some space for them to pursue their own development. When they have some proposals, we're willing to discuss with them. We are also willing to see how we can make it happen for universities. We will be discussing with universities to identify the best way forward. We need to use government resources well. At the same time, we also need to use market resources well. Thank you.
Mr. Adrian Ho. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the FS for this budget. I very much support this budget. The government has yielded results in terms of improving public finances as well as promoting industry development, so I support the budget. I would like to ask about the 1-for-1 replacement scheme for EVs. Has the SAR government made an assessment of what the impacts will be on the EV market after the conclusion of the scheme? In the coming year, we might see a drop in terms of the number of EVs on the market. My question is, after the end of the scheme, how much revenue will be foregone? Also, will the government regularly review the impacts brought by the conclusion of the 1-for-1 scheme, and will you roll out policy measures to respond to the impact? FS, I thank the member for the questions. Over the past few years, the SAR government has offered policy support to the EV market. Over the past few years, we have seen improvement in terms of EV technologies. We're seeing an increasing number of suppliers of EVs. There has also been a wider range of models with greater performance. A lot of people told me they feel very comfortable sitting in new EVs. We have rolled out the scheme for quite a number of years, and we find it appropriate to cancel the scheme now. Public finance is not our consideration when deciding to cancel the scheme. We see that a lot of people are flocking to buy EVs before the cancellation of the scheme. So there might be a drop in terms of the sales of EVs in the near future. However, overall speaking, we see that people have high awareness of environmental protection. Newly registered cars, 70% of them are EVs. We will allocate more resources to speed up the development of charging facilities. I mentioned about fast chargers as well as medium chargers. So we will continue to monitor the situation. Dr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the FS for the stable and forward-looking budget. I have two questions. Paragraphs 104 and 105 of the budget are about digital asset. It is clearly stated in the budget that the goal is to develop Hong Kong into a digital asset and innovation center. Also, next month, the licenses for the first batch of stablecoin issuers will be issued. Will the government consider distributing e-vouchers, e-consumption vouchers for nighttime economy so that we can make use of stablecoins? Also, are there other ways to promote the use of stablecoins in Hong Kong? the infiltration rate of stable coins in Hong Kong compared to that in Singapore and South Korea is very low. I would like to ask about paragraph 268 in relation to the borrowing ceiling of the bond programs. The borrowing ceiling is now $900 billion. I understand that the government has to issue bonds to promote the development of the northern metropolis. Will the borrowing ceiling be pushed up further within the current term? Also, how will you bring down the borrowing ceiling later? Will you make use of existing resources to repay the debt so as to take away the pressure from the public office, FS? In terms of digital asset, Hong Kong is at the forefront. As we all know, digital asset is not encouraged in the mainland. Under one country, two systems, Hong Kong is a testing field. In this regard, we are serving as a gatekeeper as well as a firewall. We are exploring financial innovation. Digital asset is a kind of financial or fintech innovation. It makes use of blockchain technology as the base. The advantage of promoting financial innovation is that this incurs lower cost and it promotes cross-boundary payment and transactions. Also, it is encrypted and it is decentralized. So there are many advantages about this. However, there are also risks. This is because it is encrypted and it promotes fast transaction and it is decentralized as mentioned. So there are risks in relation to investor protection as well as financial resilience. So when we promote the development of digital asset, we want to embrace fintech and at the same time we want to play a strong gatekeeping role. So we have to make sure that there is regulation. There are different forms of stable coins. Our thought is that we have to be innovative. We have to be bold in making the first move. We have to make steady move, but we have to make big strides. So next month, we will issue the first batch of licenses for issuers. We stress that issuers have to display application scenarios for real economy. If we see that there are results, we will speed up the development. So this is the thought we have for promoting digital asset. As for bond issuance, we were told by a number of members that the SAR government has to speed up the development of infrastructure and the northern metropolis, and that there is room for issuing more bonds. So we're striking a balance in this regard. Next, Mr. Robert Lee. One of the highlights of this budget is that the government is making effort to increase revenue and cut expenditure so that public finances can be further improved. The consolidated account for 25 and 26 has returned to a surplus, and this serves our commendation. And the government is working to dovetail with the National 15th Five-Year Plan by rolling out Finance Plus. This will help promote financial services as well as real economy, and this will also help us give full play to our role as 4 centers and 1 hub. Again, this deserves our recognition. In terms of financial policies, there are no major breakthroughs, but it covers securities, gold funds, innovation, as well as traditional sectors. I want to first ask about uncertificated securities. The market supports this initiative. How will you take into consideration compliance costs for the sector, and how will you ensure fairness? If over half of the industry players will see a higher cost incurred, will the government or members from the sector shoulder the costs together? Also, on upgrading and transformation of SMEs that are in the financial sector, there is not much mentioned about policy initiatives. We need to relax restrictions. We need to improve the GEM system. It looks like there isn't enough support for them. I'd like to say that there are only 2 mentions of futures in this budget. In the past, there was mention about mainland government futures. A lot of futures that are connected with energy and precious metal can bring benefits to our economy. So can we attach more importance to futures as well as relevant derivatives? As for gold trading, not many banks or financial institutions can take part in this because of the restrictions. Can I hear more from the administration about this, FS? I will defer to the secretary to elaborate. First, I have to thank the LegCo members for enhancing the efficiency of the financial market with the government. We have rolled out many reforms. We have been in close talks with Mr. Robert Lee. As mentioned, we have rolled out special arrangement in times of inclement weather. Without the support of SMEs as well as small and medium-sized security traders, we won't be able to achieve that. So I'd like to thank the sector for this. Now, responding to Mr. Lee's questions about paragraph 94 of the budget, it is about the launch of the uncertificated securities market regime. We've talked to Mr. Robert Lee as well as security traders on the market. We've talked about the upgrading of system as well as the new arrangement. It will take time for them to adapt to the regime. We will look at the business nature of different security traders and firms to see how we can further refine the regime. So we are willing to listen to the views of securities traders as well as views from Robert Lee. Regarding the point about futures, we can't cover all the policy initiatives in the budget. However, it is part of our regular work. For example, the Gold Exchange has plans to roll out a plan for futures. Perhaps I will stop here. Mr. Lam Chun-sing, 2 years ago, the government rolled out the retraining allowance scheme, and it has attracted tens of thousands of jobless people to rejoin the workforce, and this is beneficial to the female workforce as well as the workforce of the Silver Group. I am glad that the government is injecting another $22 million, $220 million to the scheme. I hope there will be an enhanced version of the scheme. For example, a participant that works for a year can get the retraining allowance, and if the employee continues to work for a second year, will there be more allowance after it has joined the workforce on a regular basis? It will benefit the economy. For trades that encounter difficulties in recruitment, will you give them this allowance to attract people to join the relevant trade? How can you make better use of this scheme to enhance the labor participation rate in Hong Kong? FS, I thank Mr. Lam Chun-sing for the questions. The overall labor participation rate in Hong Kong is quite good. We're seeing continuous improvement in our overall economy. The labor market saw an employment rate increase, but the unemployment rate has now stabilized. In terms of employment support, we have a number of measures in place. The retraining allowance scheme is one of them. We also have training for the labor force with a shift in technological development as well as business models. We need to upskill our employees. In this regard, the ERB is rolling out training courses as well as subsidies. As Mr. Lam Chun-sing said, for the Reemployment Allowance Pilot Scheme, for the first year, the participant gets a few $1,000s for the employer. Many trades require resources from us, and we strive to strike a balance, and we will continue to review the effectiveness of the scheme.
Next member, Mr. Eric Yim. Thank you. Good morning, FS. We are glad to see that the operating account of the government has seen a surplus. This shows that the government is making prudent use of financial resources. In the latest budget, I thank the FS for continue to hand out sweeteners. There are enhancements to dependent parent and grandparent tax allowances. Quite many taxpayers in Hong Kong, their parents live on the mainland. The government is encouraging elderly people in Hong Kong to retire in the GBA or other mainland cities. The parents or grandparents of taxpayers in Hong Kong are living out of Hong Kong, and there are certain expenses for these taxpayers in Hong Kong. When right now we have seen an improvement in the fiscal position of Hong Kong, is it possible to provide tax concessions for taxpayers in Hong Kong? Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, FS. Thank you, Mr. Yin, for his questions. The government supports the elderly care services of elderly people in Hong Kong. We support their decisions if they want to retire in the mainland. After all, there are different factors at play. Living costs, living environment, all these are quite good in the mainland. We have different policies mentioned in the budget. For example, there are policies on cross-boundary elderly care services. Whenever we can, we have provided greater support regarding the tax allowances for dependent parent and dependent grandparent is limited to those living in Hong Kong. That is our current policies. And if you are living together with your parents or grandparents, then these taxpayers are granted more tax allowances. When it comes to profit tax, when it comes to salaries tax, there are about 3 million or so workers in Hong Kong. About 1 million or so are paying salaries tax. There are impacts from these adjustments. Overall, when we make enhancements to personal tax allowances, we also need to strike a balance among different factors. In other words, when the fiscal position of the Hong Kong government is picking up, we will take it step by step to provide more enhancements. Thank you. Ms. Carmen Kan, thank you. I'm one of the deputy conveners of G19. I will give the FSM feedback on behalf of G19. We're glad to see this budget. It aligns with the national strategies, and a total of $150 billion will be spent on infrastructure, such as the CWRF. We are also glad to see different policies, such as financial policies, AI policies, and so on. A lot of proposals of G19 have been taken on board, such as mutual connection, mutual access. $10 billion are devoted. There are also other policies. There are also other bilateral agreements we are glad to see sweeteners, including personal tax allowances, basic and single parent allowance, additional child allowances, and $30 million for the Women Empowerment Fund. I'm glad to see all these policies. I'd like to speak on the bonds funds. I'd like the FS to tell us more about these funds. These funds are outside the consolidated account of the Hong Kong government. I'd like the FS to explain why $37 billion are transferred to this account. They will be replaced by other funds. As mentioned in the PowerPoint slides, a lot of these funds will expire towards the end of this year. I'd like the FS to explain. I'd like to ask Mr. Lai, Secretary, to give you more information regarding the bond fund. It was established in 2009. It was set up through the resolution of the Legislative Council. It aimed to provide better support to the bonds market in Hong Kong. So the funds have been accumulated in this fund, and when it is time for maturity, the proceeds will be given to bondholders. Most of these bonds will mature by the end of this year. There will also be redemption by the end of this year, and the total revenue is about $37 billion. So the functions of the bond funds will have come to an end by the end of this year. For the remaining $37 billion, we will transfer it back to the operating account of the Hong Kong government. We will do so in accordance with the resolution passed at the Council in 2009. And this will be tabled to the Council for scrutiny. Well, if I understand correctly, when you have repaid all your principal, the revenue, so to speak, will be transferred to the account of the Hong Kong government. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Mr. Bill Tang. Well, I'm the first member of the FTU to speak. I have one piece of feedback, one view, and one question on the budget. The most important highlight of the budget is that the government has sent a message to society. The overall economic situation and fiscal position of the Hong Kong government are picking up. On the last occasion, the government was facing a deficit, and I can say that the government has been trying very hard to build more houses and create more land. We have seen a change in the direction of the government. Still, the government managed to turn from red to black. This is worth our commendation. All policies need to create job opportunities for locals. We need to accord priority to locals first. We need to go by this principle. We need to accord priorities to local workers. We also need to review the existing manpower policies. In sectors with a higher jobless rate, we need to adopt a flexible and dynamic approach. We need to provide more support, or we even need to call a halt to imported workers. This is definitely the better approach, and I'd like to speak on One for Quart as well. I thank the government for setting aside $8 billion to handle matters in relation to the One for Quart blaze. Last Saturday, the rehousing arrangements for One for Quart were announced. 70 Wang Chi Court residents contacted me. They want the government to consider expanding the rehousing arrangements to Wang Chi Court residents as well. However, $4 billion of the funding for Wangfu Court doesn't cover Wang Chi House. Well, when over half of the residents said that they would be willing to accept the government proposals, how will the government handle this? I'd like to ask the DFS to reply. Thank you. $6.8 billion of the total acquisition price. This amount covers 7 blocks only. If Wang Chi Court residents have reached a major consensus where we can cover it as well, that is about expenditure of $9 to $10 billion. The $4 billion will last us a few years. They were expecting to get the funds in the third quarter or by the third quarter. However, some residents have chosen flat-for-flat arrangements. So if residents of Wang Chi House are able to reach a consensus fast enough, well, we can definitely do so when it comes to procedures. Mr. Ronald Chan, thank you. A lot of coverage of the budget is devoted to AI, INT, finance, and the Northern Metropolis development. I fully recognize this budget. I'd like to speak on paragraph 87 of the budget. The government will review and enhance tax arrangements for R&D expenditure, and I'd like to ask about super deduction. It was implemented starting from 2018. What about auditing, technology, or skill certification? Regarding 91E, high-quality issuers will be attracted to increase renminbi bond issuance of Hong Kong. This goes a long way towards facilitating the development of the internationalization of renminbi. I'd like to ask about the treasury bond and regional bonds. Some central banks outside the territory are issuing renminbi-denominated bonds outside Hong Kong, and I'd like to ask about the SME financing guarantee schemes. Some schemes have been extended to the end of March this year. 80% of the products are extended to March 2028. I'd like the FS to explain once again why 90% guarantee product wasn't included. Thank you. Regarding the tax deductions for R&D plans, R&D expenditure, we have taken into account the inclusion between Hong Kong and the GBA. We need to make good use of the resources of both places. We need to work together with the GBA. That's why there are regional constraints. We need to consider relaxing the requirements, and we also need to guard against abuse. We adopt a territorial principle when it comes to collecting taxes. For money earned outside Hong Kong, we cannot levy tax. This is a principle that we need to take into account. We have considered the importance of INT development and cross-boundary research and development. We are willing to take a closer look at the situation. As Mr. Ronald Chan just now mentioned, for skill certification, auditing services, can they be factored in? Well, we will take a look at it when we review it. Regarding renminbi bonds, how can we attract more issuers to increase renminbi bond issuance in Hong Kong? Well, when they issue bonds In Hong Kong, they will have to use renminbi. We are the second largest economies around the world. The percentage of trade export stands at about 14 to 15%. There is much room for using renminbi. In this regard, we encourage bond issuers to come to Hong Kong. We want them to enrich the pool of renminbi. At the same time, we can support the internationalization of renminbi. Last of all, regarding 80% guarantee product, when some measures will be sent loan scheme is on the high side. We implement extraordinary measures in times of extraordinary situations, and we consider it appropriate to suspend these measures right now.
Mr. Brave Chan. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, FS. The DAB supports this budget. We see that the government is proactively dovetailing with the national development and its response to the policy address. We see continuity between the two. There is dedicated chapter on INT. During the two session meetings as well as meeting of the central government, there were discussions about the development of green energy as well as supercomputing power. Our country is also concerned about reducing carbon emission. We see that the FS is devoting lots of resources on INT. How can we ensure that the loop as well as Hetao can be well planned so that we can reinforce and strengthen our capacity in green power to reduce carbon emission? For green power, we refer to renewable energy such as wind power and hydraulic power. So I support the development of INT because we will get investment return, and that way we'll be able to promote the use of new energy. Also, the government is pressing ahead with the Northern Metropolis project. How can you ensure investment return? There are vacant commercial sites, and for example, the HKUSD purchased some of the commercial sites, and this helps us trawl for top-tier scientists to come to Hong Kong. I want to hear more from the government in this regard. How can we make sure that we can make better use of our funding resources? FS. On green energy, as we all know, we generate power in Hong Kong. We also make use of energy resources from the mainland for power generation, for cost effectiveness. The government is leading the world in terms of developing clean energy, such as wind energy, photovoltaic power, and so on. The northwestern part of the mainland sees power generation, and the electricity is transmitted to Hong Kong through the Greater Bay Area. The major direction we need to take is to study how we can make good use of clean energy, and we are working hard in this regard. As for the development of the Northern Metropolis, we need a huge amount of capital. As proposed in the budget, we're going to issue bonds, and the proceeds from bond issuance will be for infrastructure development. More importantly, however, we have to leverage market forces. We have to make use of the financial resources of enterprises. Therefore, in the budget, there's a mention that if real estate developers can work with tech companies or advanced manufacturing companies, then we will get land resources corporate resources as well as clientele. If they're able to achieve that, they can reach out to the government so that we can adopt a co-investment model. That way we can speed up the development of the Northern Metropolis. The Northern Metropolis will be a major economic driver in Hong Kong, and we think that this kind of partnership model is the most effective. Next, Mr. Stephen Ho. I thank the government as well as the FS for formulating such a good budget. This year, we see a return to surplus, and this is a result for the government from being passive to active. Members of the public are able to share the fruits of it, and the middle class as well as the grassroots are able to get support from the government. However, we value the morale of the community. I hope the government would consider giving out sweeteners. For example, in relation to tax allowances, I think the SAR government can actually do more. While you roll out tax allowances, you can also put in place other policy initiatives. One way to do it is to roll out tax allowances for foreign domestic helpers. That way you will be able to unleash the labor force. For a lot of families and households, they have strong capacity. They can go to work. However, they need foreign domestic helpers to take care of their children. So I hope that there could be more support from the government. Also, we are seeing a low birth rate in Hong Kong. Can there be more newborn baby bonus to boost the fertility rate? You can adjust the tax allowances instead of increasing different tax allowances. That would benefit the development of Hong Kong. Now, two major directions we're taking is to promote the development of the Northern Metropolis as well as the development of INT. I think it is great that there is a chapter of the budget that's dedicated to the promotion of AI and technology to benefit the public. It is not just about money. We need policies from the government. For traditional industries or those who engage in traditional sectors, such as cleaning workers, they will not be able to benefit from the promotion of AI. So the money that we put into developing AI may not bear fruit in this regard. However, we need money and we have to boost competitiveness at the same time. So how can the government do better? FS, in relation to tax allowances, I thank the various parties for offering their views to us during the budget consultation period. We have just seen an improvement in our public finances. There are external risks, however, and at the same time we have to allocate resources to boost the development of the Northern Metropolis. At this stage, there is limited room for us to roll out other policies. How can we benefit the maximum number of people? The final decision is that we are going to adjust the tax allowances. There is a budget every year. And we jot down all the views we get. We want to do it step by step. As mentioned by Mr. Stephen Ho, we will spend $7.8 billion on, for example, tax allowances as well as tax concessions. We will see about $5 billion of tax revenue foregone with the adjustments to tax allowances, and together we will see $13.1 billion of revenue foregone. And with the $7.8 billion we spend, the total amount foregone is about $20 billion. So we have already tried our best. The measures that you propose, we will explore them at the next stage. As for the use of AI in public services, we have heard your views. We will study this with the relevant government departments in detail. We will see how, as we take forward the work, we can cover people from all walks of life. Next, Ms. Rebecca Chen. I thank the FS for the budget. I support your decision in investing in future as well as in INT. I would like to focus on the expectations of the middle class as well as the general public. Just now, there was mentioned that there was cancellation of the student grant as well as the newborn baby bonus. Now, I'd like to focus on the healthcare sector because we have got many complaints in this area. In relation to elderly healthcare voucher scheme, the government is focusing on developing primary healthcare to adopt a prevention-oriented approach. Since 2014, elderly healthcare voucher still stands at $2,000. We have seen increase in healthcare expenditure, and you are simply extending the elderly healthcare voucher scheme for 2 years as a reward. Elderly healthcare voucher can actually benefit the healthcare sector. You might as well add at least $500 to the elderly healthcare voucher. That way, elderly people will be able to feel the support given by the government. As for the Guangdong Residential Care Scheme, each person gets $10,000 for consultation. However, for those living in Hong Kong for 22 years, they are getting only $2,000 for the healthcare voucher. Now, for the funding you injected to the hospital authority, you are giving them $103.1 billion, up 2.9% year on year. I support the injection of funding. However, the funding should be allocated to public healthcare services to increase the service quality. According to the HA, over the past year, the expenditure reached $100.7 billion, and the staff cost was $65.8 billion. One of the directors saw an increase of pay of 15%, and the annual remuneration was $6.36 million. Can you guarantee that there will be an increase of pay for frontline staff and that the services that they deliver will be improved? We do not just want to benefit the management. We want the general public to feel that there is an improvement in public healthcare services. Also, you are spending money on the second 10-year hospital development. We are still waiting for the 9,000 some hospital beds. The second 10-year program has just started. We hope that the money devoted can be put to good use. FS, I thank Ms. Rebecca Chen for the comments. The Health Bureau has recently adjusted the fees for public healthcare services. We shouldered 90% of the healthcare costs in public healthcare sector. Regarding the point about elderly healthcare voucher scheme, this year, we are increasing the CSS payment. We are issuing another month of old age living allowance as well as CSSA payments to the recipients. We are dispersing another month of old age living allowance, and at the same time, you said that we're only giving $2,000 for the elderly healthcare vouchers. We're adopting a multi-pronged approach, and we try to benefit as many people as possible. After making compromises, we decided to adjust the tax allowances so that more people can benefit from our initiatives. We're dispersing an extra 1 month allowance of different payments because we want to benefit more people. For the elderly, with an extra 1 month allowance, we hope it could help.
Mr. Ken Wong, thank you. I agree with the budget. I thank the FS and his team. I can see innovation in the budget. When it comes to the development of AI, I can see the stronger determination and a more proactive plan of the administration. When it comes to promoting INT, indeed, the direction is correct. This has laid a strong foundation for the future competitiveness of Hong Kong. $50 million are devoted to promoting AI for all. Providing AI training for teachers of secondary and primary schools matters. Apart from providing training courses, will the administration consider being more proactive? Will paid leave be provided to serving teachers? They can study advanced AI or digital education courses during these paid leave. This is conducive to forming a team of high caliber teachers. In the budget, it talks about establishing committee on AI plus an industry development strategy. I'd like to know the target of this committee, and I'd also like to ask about the timeline of the work of the committee. How can we make sure that this committee will be able to help different sectors to upgrade and transform? How can we make sure it can develop the local economy? Thank you, Mr. Wong. Of course, we attach a lot of importance to training teachers. AI training also applies to teachers. We have supporting facilities. We have supporting measures. Well, regarding paid leave for teachers to study AI and digital education, we need to study it more carefully. I believe Mr. Wong can liaise with the Education Bureau. You can engage in more in-depth discussions with the Education Bureau. Regarding the Committee on AI Plus and Industry Development Strategy, it aims to enhance the competitiveness of different industries with AI. This committee will be set up soon. It comprises government officials, representatives. There will also be experts from outside the government. We focus on different sectors, and the list will be announced soon. Thank you. Mr. Chen Pui Leung. Thank you. Overall, this budget, it's a good one. It seeks progress. It also seeks improvement, and I thank the FS for accepting my proposals as well as those from the insurance sector. It is important to strictly control the expenditure of the government. This is important in relation to managing the fiscal position of the government. So I'd like to ask about the AI efficacy program. $11.7 billion can be saved with this scheme. So I'd like to know whether we can achieve this. $7.8 billion can be saved. In other words, $15.9 billion will be saved. The recurrent expenditure of the government is $599.7 billion. That is, we can only save $11.2 billion. That is a difference of $7 billion. So I'd like to know how we can save $7 billion. How can we save this amount of money? Thank you. I'd like to ask Mr. Andrew Lai to give you more information. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chen's understanding is correct. As we mentioned in the budget, not all areas of expenditure will be cut. Social welfare, old age living allowance, CSSA, pensions of civil servants. Every year, about $100 or so billion are involved, and they won't be affected by our cuts on expenditure. $400 billion will be affected by the 2% cut in the operating account. Every year, we will be able to save $8 billion, so I can tell Mr. Chen for sure. This goal is definitely workable. We can achieve it. When the FS prepares the budget every year, first of all, he takes out social welfare expenses and statutory expenses. We take out the 2% cut first, and then we apply the cap on different policy bureaus. In the financial year 2025-26, apart from the 2% cut, all government departments only spend when necessary. That's why we save about $13 billion. So what about the figure of $11.7 billion? Well, that is an accumulative figure. We took the actual expenditure of 2023 to 24. Then for 2026, 27, and 28, we cut 2% every year. Thank you, Professor Chen Wenkwang. Thank you. I'd like to follow up on Chinese medicine development. I thank the FS for accepting our proposals. The Chinese Medicine Development Fund will receive an additional injection of $500 million. I can see that the government attaches a lot of importance to the development of CM, that is Chinese development. However, apart from injections into the fund in order to develop the high-quality development of CM, we also need to ramp up publicity efforts, especially those in relation to international promotion. That is exactly how we can show the strengths of CM to the world. This will help us tap overseas markets for CM. This will also allow us to attract high-quality enterprises from overseas to set up a presence in Hong Kong. I'd like to ask the FS, will you draw reference from the CEDB's policies, that is, they have a task group on going global? Will you coordinate with different policy bureaus such as Invest Hong Kong, Trade Development Council? Will you set up a platform to help CM organizations and CM enterprises to go global? This is a way to promote the development of CM so that it will become a new growth area for the local economy. This will also help Chinese medicine of our country to go global. Thank you. We conduct thematic studies in relation to Chinese medicine. We enhance training and we also strengthen our international promotion. Whether it be CEDB or other organizations that work on international promotion, they provide support. We need major stakeholders in the industry to work together. We are more than willing to steer this kind of work. Any follow-up? No, thank you. Mr. Perry Yu. Thank you. This budget is wide-ranging. There are also surprises. That's why this budget is worth our recognition and support. Many policies in the budget promote the high-quality development of local tourism. This also helps us to attract tourists to come to Hong Kong. When it comes to night views in Hong Kong, the Symphony of Lights has been around for 2 decades or so. Victoria Harbour night views are world-renowned. When we don't use the Symphony of Lights, we're going to go for light displays to attract more tourists. We need to be innovative so that travelers will not find it boring. Travelers will keep coming to Hong Kong. I support this initiative. In Kowloon facing Hong Kong Island, many government buildings or buildings are darker on their facades. The government offices, Hong Kong CEC, commercial buildings, will resources be provided to these enterprises and buildings to decorate the buildings? Is it possible to put on light displays on the buildings? Regarding International Aviation Hub, I'd like to ask the FS some questions. We need to consolidate the International Aviation Hub. We need to sign more aviation agreements to improve the competitiveness of Hong Kong. We also need to promote differentiated development, and we need to develop the idea of the airport city. Is there any concrete mechanism to develop this area? We have been having good coordination and collaboration with Zhuhai Airport. We have injected capital into the Zhuhai Airport in 2024. Is it possible to expand this initiative to Bao'an Airport in Shenzhen? Is it possible to collaborate with Shenzhen? Well, just to declare, I'm on the board of the airport authority. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yu. Just now you talked about different buildings. You talked about having light displays on different buildings. Yes, we can look into it. Just now you talked about Symphony of Lights. Yes, we're going to change it. We're going to launch 3D light festivals, and this will be expanded to different areas. We're willing to explore this possibility. Regarding International Aviation Hub, we achieve complementarity with adjacent airports, but at the same time, there is also competition among us. We try our best to work together. It is important to enhance the competitive edge of Hong Kong. We also need to enhance passenger and cargo throughput. Just now you talked about right of airways. We have quite frequent international connections. That is exactly how we can attract mainland travelers to fly to other areas through Hong Kong. In this connection, we have close communication with different units. Mr. Chao Siu-chung. Thank you. In paragraph 258, the government talked about the productivity enhancement program. Some establishments have been significantly trimmed, some by over 5%. I'm not sure if this is too drastic. At the same time, these departments significantly trim their staff size, especially the frontline contract staff. This way, we cannot clear the backlog of undone work. That is not really what the public wants to see. I'd like to know the view of the FS. Will the FS step in to stop departments from blindly trimming the staff size? Otherwise, this will affect the quality of public services.
FS, I thank Mr. Chow for the questions. As we implement the productivity enhancement program, each government department has to contribute, and our requirement for all government departments is the same. Without compromising public service quality as well as public service level, we will implement this program. There were discussions of whether we should re-engage some of the contract staff by deploying them to other posts. If Mr. Chow is of the view that we should make discretion in terms of selecting contract staff, please let us know and offer your views. However, we think that each government department has to work hard to reduce expenditure. And in the meantime, we think that it is important for us to make use of AI and other technologies. And at the same time, we're seeing a tight manpower supply in the labor market. The situation is different for different sectors. So we have to adopt a targeted approach to make improvement. Any follow-up questions? No? Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Chairman. I see from this budget that there is support for grassroots elderly, including the elderly healthcare voucher scheme. I have said this many times in the past. The threshold for the healthcare waiver at public hospitals should be increased to cover those aged 65 or above, as well as those who are getting the old age living allowance. There is no mention in this budget regarding this suggestion. While this is not touched on in the latest budget, will there be room to increasing the threshold in the future? For elderly people, they have to fill out a 20-page form to apply for the medical fee waiver. Will you streamline the relevant application procedure to benefit the elderly applicants? Now turning to the Operation Building Bright 2.0 scheme, I am glad that you have taken on board the views offered by the DAB. And thanks to this, we are seeing a resumption of the Operation Building Bright scheme. Many local residents welcome this scheme, but they are concerned about the application threshold. Some owners of old building apartments said because of some technical reasons in the last round of the scheme, the applications were not approved. So for those whose applications were rejected in the previous round because of technical reasons, how will you accommodate them in this latest round of the Operation Building Bright scheme? FS, I thank Mr. Holden Chow for the questions. Mr. Chow mentioned about healthcare services for grassroots elderly. There are two aspects to his comment. First, can we increase the threshold for medical waiver to those aged 65 or above and those who are getting the old age living allowance? We have to follow up on this with the Health Bureau. The second aspect to his comment is about the application procedure. We have heard your views. We will think about how we can further streamline the application in this regard. We are working on this. As for the Operation Building Bright scheme, the Development Bureau will later announce the details of the scheme. In short, it is important for us to carry out repair and maintenance works for old buildings because we want to enhance building safety as well as to provide a comfortable living environment for people. That's why we're injecting $10 billion into the scheme. We're also injecting $1 billion to the lift modernization subsidy scheme. For buildings with incorporated owners, they may reach out to the Urban Renewal Authority for help. As for those without incorporated owners, the URA as well as the HYAB can offer support as well. Overall speaking, we want to make good use of resources to improve the living environment for those living in old buildings. Next, Mr. Chris Yip. Thank you, Chairman. Here, I'd like to thank the FS for this comprehensive budget. This is in line with the country's development. The government has put in a lot of resources in this regard. It has also responded to the aspirations of the general public by rolling out tax concessions. I think the biggest breakthrough is that $150 billion will be transferred from the exchange fund for the development of the Northern Metropolis. Yesterday, the FS said this will not be a regular mechanism. It is just another way to make investment for the government. The total asset of the exchange fund reached $4.1 trillion, and this is enough to maintain the stability of the monetary and financial system of Hong Kong. Is it that you think we are at a very safe level in terms of the scale of the exchange fund? Are we reaching even the peak? If there are more investment outcome from the exchange fund, will you consider more flexibly invest in other areas, for example, tourism facilities as well as culture promotion? While the FS said that this will not be made regular, will you, however, set indicators? If you are to transfer funds again from the exchange fund, will you cap it to a certain level? That is, it will not exceed a certain percentage of the investment outcome. Please explain to the public about this. FS, I thank Mr. Chris Ip for the questions. The exchange fund helps maintain the stability of our financial system in Hong Kong. It is an important element. The scale of the exchange fund is huge. The balance of the exchange fund stands at a few $100 billion. We have the linked exchange rate system, and so when capital comes in, it is deposited into the exchange fund. So over the years, the accumulated balance of the exchange fund is about a few $100 billion. Last year, we saw a considerable amount of investment income from the exchange fund, which reached $330 billion. At the same time, we have to develop infrastructure in the Northern Metropolis. We have to bring in enterprises as well as industries for the development of the Northern Metropolis. So this is one major consideration. Given that the exchange fund is performing so well, we decided to transfer half of the investment income from the exchange fund starting from year 2026 to 27. This is for investing in the infrastructure of the Northern Metropolis. This will facilitate the bringing in of enterprises, and this will also help boost government revenue. That's why I said this is not going to be a regular move. In terms of the amount of investment return the government gets from the exchange fund, there is a mechanism in place. And we think that we have already struck a balance. We are sending out a message to the community that the exchange fund is very stable, and however, this is still a very important pillar to ensure the stability of our financial system. Next, Mr. Alan Chen. I thank the FS and his team for the budget. We are able to sustain the good momentum, and we will be able to pursue economic growth further with the surplus. We have to invest in long-term planning as well as the future. So I commend this budget. Under the National 15th Five-Year Plan, our country's goal is to develop itself into a strong nation in finance and INT. If we do not invest in the Northern Metropolis now, when should we do so? The FS proposes policies to reinforce our status as an international financial center. At the same time, we have to build ourselves into an international INT center. Central is like Wall Street in the US. We also have an area that can serve as the Silicon Valley. We have many young talents as well as engineers. I have a couple of questions. We have 19.9% in terms of our public works expenditure. In Singapore, the percentage is much higher. That is 236%. In Singapore, that's 178%. Why don't we suspend completely the Khao Yai Chau Artificial Islands project? It is located in the eastern part of Lantau. It was called East Lantau, but in fact, it is located in the western part of Central. It should be part of a Central CBD. Should we reposition the Khao Yai Chau project so that we can further develop our financial industry? There's no extra land in Central to develop the financial industry. So should we reposition the Khao Yai Chau project? The Khao Yai Chau project is very important. If you want to get to the airport, you can go from Kowloon, and you can also go from Tuen Mun. Khao Yai Chau is the only channel that connects the Hong Kong island with the airport. If we delay the progress of this project, will there be risks of traffic congestion on the way to the airport? Last question. On our equity market, Section 18A and Section 18C are very useful. Will we take the initiative to attract businesses to get listed in Hong Kong? SK rose 75% from South Korea, and for chip companies in Taiwan, they're doing very well as well. FSI believe that Khao Yai Chau may not be discussed today at this meeting, so you can decide whether you want to respond to the question. I thank Mr. Alan Chen for the questions. Currently, we are focusing our resources to press ahead with the Northern Metropolis project. That's my first point. Second, the member mentioned about Khao Yai Chau project. Apart from land supply as well as commercial site, we need transport links. We are focusing our resources on the Northern Metropolis, so we are shelving the Khao Yai Chau Artificial Islands project. As for transport connection, we have other plans and thoughts. There are alternatives to the Khao Yai Chau project to improve the transport links. Once our studies become mature, we will discuss this with the community. Next, Mr. Kingsley Wong. Well, I'd like to add one more point. In terms of the question about equity market, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange is attracting different companies to get listed in Hong Kong. Same for Oasis. Mr. Kingsley Wong, I support this budget. This is a prudent but aggressive budget. It proposes compressing costs, and at the same time, it proposes investing into infrastructure and INT. I support the idea of issuing bonds to expand our investment. I see that a lot of areas require resources. In the coming year, there will be changes in the recurrent expenditure. It will increase from $40 billion to $50 billion. 6 years ago, the government undertook to make contribution to MPF funds for low-income employees. It will cover 600,000 people, involving about $2 billion of expenditure. I understand that with the current fiscal position, the government may not be able to do that. With more significant improvement in our public finances, perhaps next year the government could make contribution to MPFs for low-income earners. This will cover about 600,000 people of the labor force. It is an important policy to alleviate poverty. So will this be a priority for the government in the future?
FS, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Kingsley Wong. Of course, MPF is an important protection for retired workers. Just now, Mr. Kingsley Wong talked about $2 billion of projection, and for sure, this is a long-term commitment. It's not whether we will implement so in 1 year or not. We must think long and hard about it. It's a long-term commitment. We have noted Mr. Kingsley Wong's view. Thank you. Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Chairman. Resources are finite, but we need to help industries to pursue development. The government needs to provide ample opportunities for different sectors to pursue development. In order to encourage economic structure transformation, I agree that we need to focus on AI, life and health, technology, new industrialization. We also need to provide different policies, matching services to help different sectors. If we are to introduce these enterprises to the Northern Metropolis, is there any concrete policy portfolio of the administration? Can the FS tell us more about this? No matter how many resources you are going to put into the NM, still development takes time. The Hong Kong Investment Corporation Company will work with different companies to attract high-quality investments to Hong Kong. I support it. I'd like to know what target enterprises, or actually what target sectors, are on the list of the administration. Thank you. FS, regarding policy packs for attracting enterprises and talents or enterprises, it's all about granting land premiums, or other tax concessions. Any tax breaks? 50%? 5%? Are there any financial subsidies, assistance? The government is a minor shareholder. Will we make investments as well? Can we provide a one-stop shop that includes the trawling for talent? And we need to take into account the sector of the enterprise. Do we really want to attract this sector? How advanced are their technologies? When they set up in Hong Kong, how many job opportunities will they create? What is the contribution to the local GDP? But after all, tools are those that I have already mentioned. The residential property market is stable. The commercial property market still has more supply than demand. Last year, we didn't put up any commercial property for sale, and this year, likewise. We have sent a clear message to society. We keep supply in check. When there are appropriate projects, you can turn them into hostels, and we can provide assistance to help you in doing so. And for Oasis and Invest Hong Kong, they need to look for places suitable for development. And we can make recommendations to help with matching. We can also help these enterprises to adapt to the local situation faster. We want to connect them to the local ecosystem. We want to form a local ecosystem. We don't want them to conduct business on their own. After all, hard tech, AI, health tech, these are the focuses. New materials, new energy, can we cover them as well? Well, technically, they may not be appropriate, but we keep our mind open. We take forward our policies with a strict attitude. If members have no objection, I will extend the meeting by 5 minutes to allow the remaining 3 members to ask questions. Dr. Thomas So, thank you. In this budget, the FS has devoted quite a lot of coverage to talk about the 15th five-year plan. This year marks the opening year of this plan. It also talks about investing in future with AI+. I agree. I am in particular concerned about one area, that is how we can promote the upgrading and transformation of professional services with technologies. In paragraph 130 of the budget, you talked about supporting mainland enterprises in going global. In paragraph 157, you talked about strengthening professional collaboration as well. The DOJ initiated the Hong Kong Professional Services Go Global platform. It collaborated with professional services sectors in supporting mainland enterprises to go global with Hong Kong as their preferred platform. Well, FSU didn't talk about the money to be spent on these areas, that is helping professional sectors to go global. But FS, you were once a representative of the accounting sector. You should know well that quite a lot of professional services enterprises in Hong Kong are SMEs. It is not at all easy for them to use their own resources to upgrade and transform. They do need assistance from the government. That's why I have some questions. How many resources will the government put into helping mainland enterprises to go global? Professional services in Hong Kong play a key role. I'd like to know how the government will help the professional services sectors of Hong Kong to accomplish this task. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Dr. So. Technologies, especially AI, are influential. They impact on different sectors. For example, in the legal profession, we have law tech. It is evolving. In this connection, the DOJ has different resources to help small to medium-sized law firms in Hong Kong. The DOJ helps them to employ law tech products, especially for more standardized law tech products. Subsidies are provided so that small to medium-sized law firms can pilot these products. If they find them appropriate, they will continue to use these products. Meanwhile, we need to open up our market, whether it be ordinary enterprises or professional services sectors. We need to grow larger our pie. We need to develop the local market, but at the same time, we need to go global as well. I still remember back then, we visited the mainland to open up our mainland market. That was quite a while ago. We encourage mainland enterprises to go listed in Hong Kong. We have professional services in Hong Kong to help you. Now we have taken even one step further. So the Middle East market, there is also North African market, or even there's a market in Latin. This is what we think. The DOJ the DOJ has formed tours to make visits. They are a group. When these enterprises come to Hong Kong, they need accountants, they need lawyers as well. That's why the DOJ leads multiple professional services. The CEDB and the Trade Development Council will also organize tours. We adopt a multi-pronged approach. There are different tours for different professional services companies or organizations. If you're interested, then we can go on tours with you. Firms and enterprises need to take money out of their own pocket as well. And we believe this is actually a good investment on their part. They can knock on the door, they can look for investment opportunities. Several years ago, we went to the Middle East, and now you can see the fruits of success. Money keeps coming back. This is our investment. Thank you. Mr. Stanley Ng. Thank you, Chairman. The FTU responded to the budget delivered by the FS. We think the budget boosts the local economy. It improves people's lives. That's why we welcome this budget. I'm going to focus on two areas. One, regarding the SME financing subsidy scheme. That is the 20 billion scheme. The bad debt ratio is quite high. In Q4 of 2028, the bad debt ratio stood at 18.67%. Against this backdrop, the government still needs to invest $200 billion, $20 billion, bringing the total investment to $310 billion. Will the bad debt ratio continue to worsen? Will it be a waste of public resources? What measures can be put in place to prevent it from worsening? Next, I'd like to talk about the birth rate in Hong Kong. It's been dropping. In the Policy Address 2023, there was a newborn baby bonus of $20,000. The birth rate did see an increase owing to the impact of the year of the dragon. However, afterwards, starting from 2025, it's been dropping. The government implements different measures to allow families with newborns to select flats faster. This is a wide range of measures to boost the local birth rate. I don't understand why the FS is still putting in resources to boost the birth rate if the previous measures don't yield dividends. Earlier on, the FS talked about progressive tax allowances for families with children. Now we have a figure of 0.8, which is actually on the low side, and we need it to increase to 2.1. Thank you. Regarding the SME financing scheme, well, the bad debt ratio is different from the commitment. there was the pandemic and there were also trade wars. That's why some sectors were under pressure during the period of economic transformation, hence the increase in the bad debt ratio. And it was also affected by the 100% guarantee product. Usually, the bad debt ratio for 80% or 90% guarantee product isn't as high. Now we're going to extend the 80% guarantee product. In other words, the applicants will still have to be responsible for 20%. That's why they have to stay cautious as well. Whenever there is bad debt and when banks need to collect it, they will follow up on the matter as well. We are taking a cautious look. Even if there is bad debt, well, we want to help as many enterprises as possible regarding tax allowances and newborn baby bonuses. They are good policies. But we need to balance this incentive with other policies. Of course, raising a child is a pleasant experience, but at the same time, it is long-term commitment, including their education, growth, and so on. Now, our economic situation is picking up. As I mentioned, if we make enhancements to personal tax allowances, this will benefit even more people, and the effect will be even more significant. We'll note the views of Mr. Stanley Ng, and for your previous proposals, we have considered them as well.
林偉唔係林偉芬議員翻咗嚟啊！林偉全議員啊，
唔該晒，我哋
招牌係未分喎。咩？OK 好，林偉全議員。
好。
Mr. Jonathan Stewart Lamport. I'm lucky to be the last member to speak. I'd like to speak on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce as well as the business sector. I'd like to thank the government for all the policy measures, especially the ones to tap into the ASEAN markets as well as the Middle East market. Also, there will be an extra injection to the BUD fund to provide a better protection to the SMEs. Also, there will be new elements to large-scale international exhibitions. And this shows that FS is aware of the needs of the business sector. We hope that there will be more measures to benefit the business sector. Overall speaking, the budget take care of the lives of people, and it also facilitates businesses. So I support the budget. I see that the FS took on board the suggestion made by the BPA. You're improving the IPO process to give greater flexibility to biotech companies as well as to facilitate the listing of tech companies. You're also improving the weighted voting rights policy for companies, that is the listing arrangement for them. 480 companies are waiting to get listed in Hong Kong. Are there ways to speed up the listing process? Also, I am glad that you have taken on board my suggestion. That is, you will provide support to SMEs engaging with high-risk buyers, and the support will be provided by the Hong Kong Export Credit Insurance Corporation. Some businesses engaging in jewelry transactions, they need insurance support. Can you, however, lower the threshold for the relevant support so that you can benefit more SMEs in need? FS? On the listing of companies, there are many companies waiting to be listed in Hong Kong. We have to grasp the momentum to enable more companies to get listed. Last year, we were ranked the first, And this year, we want to continue with our good performance. We have to, however, be the gatekeeper here to ensure that quality companies will get listed in company and that the public has confidence in these listed companies. So in this connection, we will keep up with our effort. As far as I understand, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange as well as the SFC have been working overtime to speed up the progress because we want to grasp the opportunities. Just now you mentioned about the support to be offered by the Export Credit Insurance Corporation. Overall speaking, we are allocating more resources to enterprises so that they can explore and tap into new markets. But just now you mentioned that individual trades are facing difficulties. Please reach out to us if you have any views. We will pay attention to trades that needs extra support. We will follow up on this. Thank you, FS. This is the end of the Q&A session. I thank the FS as well as the Deputy FS as well as government officials.